Hey folks, today we go back to rediscover old western games that few people remember and even fewer appreciate or even know about. Hence today I'll tell you about my recent experience with Vivisector Beast Within by Action Forms. This game was suggested me by the user Old Lebanese Nerd, whom I thank warmly because it was definitely worth playing. Believe me, describing Vivisector is difficult. It's a mix of many things. When I started looking into it, the first thing I read was that it's a kind of Russian Far Cry, although the game was developed in Ukraine by a team that previously worked on Chasm the Rift and the Carnivore series. Well, Vivisector was originally a spin-off of nothing but Duke Nukem, titled Duke Nukem Endangered Species, scheduled for 2001, in which Duke hunts, or rather fights, exotic animals. Kinda. Anyway, this spin-off was cancelled and then reworked in the Vivisector we know, released in 2005. Well, I've played weird games in the past, but this Vivisector is a real chimera. I say this because this game constantly evolves, changing enemies, settings, the general game pace, and it's janky as hell. The main menu speaks for itself, with its symbol and not at all disturbing shots for each screen, and for this playthrough we opt for the hard difficulty, here called Surgery. Story. We play as the Navy SEAL officer Garth Robinson, and in the prologue of the game, his squad is sent to the Isle of Sorio with the task to prevent a rebellion. Soon after the arrival, the whole freaking squad, including his presumably girlfriend, is wiped out by cybernetically engineered electric hyenas. Seriously, what? Left alone and perhaps very saddened, Kurt will find himself fighting his way through the rebel soldiers and cyber beasts in an attempt to reunite with the other team of survivors and escape the island. But in truth, a long series of fights, traps and grotesque revelations will await him. This first part of the game may resemble Far Cry for the tropical setting, but then I see a lot of influences on the gameplay side from Serious Sam, because enemies randomly appear at an hour, and during the shootings we continuously run backwards and try to avoid attacks. The movements are quite smooth, and the whole game is a continuous bunny hopping during the travels between the waypoints and the fights to speed up the action. Do you see this thing that emits a green light? That's a waypoint, and the whole game is full of waypoints often very close to each other, which indicate the place next to go, which also generally trigger the spawn of enemies. This first part seems like a safari trip, and gives the idea of us being a sort of guinea pig against these cyber beasts, because we'll often find ourselves locked in cages, or delimited in some kind of arenas. And what about the enemies? Aside from the hyenas, there are jaguars with flamethrowers, lions that shoot plasma, freaking gorillas with grenade launchers that can hit us from impossible spots. That's fucking ridiculous. Oh yes, even bears with missile launchers. I won't tell you the names written in the manual because they are quite silly, but I must admit that I find all these damn ludicrous. If you notice, the game contains a sort of ghoul system, like Soldier of Fortune, and reminds the one seen in the recent Doom Eternal, since we can shred the flesh of enemies and leave only their skeleton and the robotic parts. Also, the enemies have armored parts that will block our bullets, like the muzzle of jaguars or the chest plates of gorillas. In its apparent simplicity, this game is full of classy touches that give it a certain personality. There are even two exciting boss fights, against first a steamroller rhino, and then against this monstrous elephant. I mean this sort of chimera. The gunplay is very solid. The M16 is a killer among the starting weapons, and the shotgun is quite powerful at close range. Even the pistol comes handy from time to time, and there's also a sniper rifle that's useful against the gorillas that are often positioned far away and in high places. After a while we'll get our hands on the M60, that is a freaking blast. This toy is a joy for shredding enemies, just look. There's obviously the rocket launcher, that is very useful against groups of common enemies, but much less against this boss that is much weaker to the M60 instead, but these are just details. One issue with the gunplay is that there's a bit of an excessive spread, especially when moving, and in closed areas, like in corridors against humanoid enemies, it's useful to crouch to improve accuracy. In addition to all this, the game also has a growth system. We can increase up to 3 times the movement speed, the resistance to damages, aim stability and maximum health. The names speak for themselves, and I'll tell you that first I maximized the resistance, then speed and health, leaving aim stability for last. Towards the end of the game, with full speed, I felt like I was playing an old boomer shooter, and it was very satisfying. Anyway, the bonus points to increase skills are obtained through certain actions, such as exploring secondary areas or finding the secrets of the maps. Then kill multiple enemies in short time, or perform fatalities, that is, shredding the enemies while they're dying. In that case, the M60 does a great job. There's also an extra called Vivisection, which consists of reducing the bodies of the enemies to gibs by attacking the corpses with a knife or the scalpel. It's just a single point, but let's say that nothing should ever be wasted. This brings me back to my teens when I was chopping up corpses in Soldier of Fortune 2 with the knife. Yeah, a bit psycho, I know. As I said, the game evolves dramatically, and in fact, after this first chapter in which we face the mainly modified four-legged animals often in vast areas, we'll venture into more sinister and industrial places, where we'll now face bipedal enemies called Humanimals. They're still cyber beasts, but now anthropomorphic and equipped with energy weapons and shotguns. Suddenly, from Serious Sam, the game will change into a sort of Quake 2, as the new enemies will resemble the Strogg, and the playstyle becomes more frenetic and less tedious. And along with the new enemies, there will be new weapons. The first we'll obtain is the Tesla, which fires these plasma projectiles that cause splash damage, but I didn't like it that much. It gave me the feeling of being a bit weak, but luckily the game introduces a powerful double-barreled shotgun that... oh man, it's incredible on close range. This became my flagship weapon, because it easily causes fatalities and deals huge damage, though the ammo runs out pretty quickly. The other new great weapon is the Gauss, which is a much more precise alternative to the M60. It kills pretty fast and has an optic sight that permits to snipe. I also used a lot the grenades, because they're great for taking out a lot of enemies with ease. Oh yes, there's also a Tommy gun, but it's not that great. Let's say just a less choice when the serious weapons run out of bullets. And before I forget, scattered throughout many areas, we'll find supply boxes containing medkits, ammo and weapons, but resupplying will be quite a pain in the ass, because each box must first be broken, like just a hole with a knife or a shot, and then may be picked up to be sure to interact with the contents. I think it breaks the pace. Seriously, it's tedious. By the way, in all this, the story, well, it's not to be taken too seriously. Let's say it's kinda trashy and the dialogues are very cheesy. The main inspiration comes from the island of Dr. Moreau, and in fact here we even have Dr. Morehead, who is the mind behind all the beasts we fought. But let's say that the game doesn't want to be too banal with its good guys and the real bad guys. During the story there will be some interesting plot twists, and the entrance on the scene of interesting characters like this ancient lion beast, simply called Lion, who proposes himself as a rebel leader on the side of the soldier beasts.
Who are we? There are 5 fingers on our hands, but we're not human. We have skin and fangs, but we're not animals. Are we not? Isn't this our land? Then why do they rule, not us?
Lion will play a fundamental role alongside the protagonist Cart, who will discover that he was not sent to the island by chance, but, on the contrary, his presence there is necessary for the triggering of certain events. In Vivisector we always fight against everyone, and rarely with allies. At one point I wondered why the heck the Humanimals were attacking Cart, even though their leader was his ally. And this is why.
One more thing. You're a man and they don't like you, and you're all soldiers, so everyone is fair game when it comes to war. There's nothing I can do to protect you.
Yes, because we are smelly humans. Whatever. One of the big flaws of the game is its terrible linearity. Even in large areas, many times the proximity between waypoints is almost offensive. Dear devs, believe me, I don't get lost that easily. However, the game offers a decent variety of settings. We'll end up in secret laboratories, and military facilities with shooting ranges and even trenches. What's this, Medal of Honor? Maybe it's where they train the best soldiers, who knows. Another thing that disappointed me is the lack of boss fights after the aforementioned first 2, until the end of the game that features a final boss that is kinda underwhelming. Do you see this sort of cyber demon chained to the wall? It looks like a potential boss fight, but if we shoot him he will get really pissed off and become an invincible opponent. The goal is to make him shoot rockets at the steel door that will bend and open a passage. Yes, it's actually a puzzle. I then discovered that it's possible to free him by shooting the Shackles bolts. By doing so, he will be our friend, and out of gratitude he will open the way for us without problems. But that's it, we'll never see him again. Thanks anyway. Later the game introduces a new tier of enemies, the Overbrutes, this time equipped with machine guns, rocket launchers and propellers. Yes, these flying enemies will be the worst of the game, since in groups they'll kill us easily and we'll have to prioritize their elimination. If we destroy the propeller, they will come down to the ground, maybe they'll even die from the fall. The game reaches new heights when we end up in the laboratories where the beast soldiers are assembled, but we'll fight the incomplete versions that are quite nasty. This part is horrific and frenetic, I liked it a lot. Also this cute cat will enter the scene creating havoc, but I won't spoil how it ends with her. In the meantime we'll get our hands on 2 other weapons. First, the Plasma, with the Z in the middle, that one-shots everyone, but I used it quite sporadically. And then the Howitzer, that shoots its cannon rockets very useful against flying enemies. In the endgame we'll fight in these snowy areas. Yes, from the tropics to the glaciers. It makes a lot of sense. The snowy battlefields didn't really impress me, but they don't last long, and then there's the ending, which is something very strange and unexpected. I don't want to spoil anything, but just know that it left me with a fucking poker face until the end of the credits. It was a weird ride, and then I loved it. Vivisector lasted me almost 10 hours, a little more than expected. It's not a very polished game, though it works without particular problems on Windows 10. There are several annoying bugs, such as one of the first cutscenes that freezes at the end and must be skipped. Then, at least 2 times, the text of a cutscene remained visible on the screen for the entire level. On one occasion, an enemy sank into a platform and continued to shoot me until he killed me, other times they ended up in the void and died. There are some other problems, like the enemy eye that sometimes wanders around instead of attacking the player, but I must say that I've played stuff that was technically much worse, and if we want to be picky, when it came out it was also graphically dated compared to other illustrious contemporaries, but it doesn't bother me that much. I still appreciate the attention to detail in many elements, to which is added some excellent music that ranges from dark ambient to create tension to very frenetic pieces for the many shootouts. In the end, Vivisector is a overall solid shooter, which stands out for its variety and unexpected changes. I mean, this game starts out like Far Cry mixed with Serious Sam, then changes it to Quake 2 with a little of Medal of Honor, and forgive me if I'm making stupid comparisons. With its many flaws, it's a game that I enjoyed much more than expected, and I think that any fan of these unnoticed live janks should try it. As always, a warm thanks to all viewers, and see you in the next entry.